Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our roundtable. Hi, Jonathan. How's it going?
Morning, Mirna. So far, it's a cold morning,
Yeah,
but it's getting warmer.
yeah, we're in the fall finally. Here in Texas, I know you're out in California. We were wondering, would we ever get any rain again? And we had rain this week, so it's like, okay, the seasons are changing.
They are.
Well, we're talking this week about what to do when you feel lost. And you and I have both worked with clients who arrive at a conclusion that something's not quite right anymore, or they've had a big change happen to them and they're trying to reset to kind of retune their compass. Like, I took a job in a different city, or we finally got married and I'm really happy, but now my life is really different and I'm trying to navigate in a new way. So the baby came, and that's good news, but I haven't had any sleep in 3 months. And so I'm feeling discombobulated. So if you kind of feel lost, we're going to cover that today. First, as always, let's do a little PowerPoint. We're going to share. Okay, here we go. Now I'm going to go into present mode. If it wants to go, yeah, there it is. Do, do, do. Okay, so this is
Perfect.
when you're feeling lost. And this gentleman, it seemed like he was kind of scratching his head and thinking, what next? What's going on? So, okay. So here's a sign: you are lost or you are very lost. What kind of lost are we? Um, but here's some things to jump off on when we have our conversation and share our coaching insights with our viewers. If you're in transition of some kind, you can feel lost. That could be a work transition, a relationship transition, the fact that you retired, the fact that you moved to a new city, the fact that kids are out of the house or new kids are in the house, whatever that looks like. Sometimes you feel lost because you've had an unwanted outcome. I remember once during all the big tech layoffs, I reported to the CEO of a company,
Mm.
and he said, "Don't worry, we're not going to lay you off." And 2 weeks later, laid me off.
Wow.
What happened? He goes, yeah, well, we just didn't really understand how deep we had to cut. He was left with himself, his business partner, and their executive assistant. That's who was left. So yeah, sometimes you have an unwanted outcome. And then like, okay, I didn't know I'd be dealing with this, but I am, and I'm not sure which way forward. You can decide if you're lost or very lost. Sometimes you just need some clarity. In coaching, Jonathan, we work with people and help them get options about what to do. You have a sense about where you want to go. Can we put some options on the table so you have some choices about how to go about it? And then clarity can be needed to say which of these options is better for me. How to pivot. So if you find halfway through something, this is not taking me where I want to go. Or now that I'm halfway there, I realize this is not what I want at all. I thought this was going to be different. I'm not liking this. I need to shift. I need to pivot. So on your way to someplace, you could decide, I need to rethink this. And then, as always, what are the next steps? So here's some steps as coaches do. These are ways you can take action. Why don't we start right now? Get you moving in the direction of your dreams. Okay, some memes. This hiker says, "Are we lost?" And the person in front says, "Oh, of course we're not. I just can't find the trail." Then I don't know if you know the story of the Donner Party, but this meme brings that up. Bring a compass because it's awkward when you have to eat your friends.
Mm.
There's a very famous story of the Donners Party, and they were climbing, and they thought the weather would hold as they went up elevations, but they got some, I think, freak weather, and they were all freezing to death. And they didn't bring enough rations to be stuck in a place for a month under snow. So they literally had to eat each other to survive the Donner Party. So yeah, bring your compass, find your way back. So terrible story of California history while you're in California. I always go the extra mile. I resemble this remark, Jonathan. I always go the extra mile. That's what happens when you get lost easily. So, yeah, I don't have an internal geographical compass. I need complete directions. I remember in California, when I lived there, some people would say, well, drive towards the ocean. I said, can I see the ocean from there? Can I see the water? If I can't see the water, I can't drive towards the ocean. What are you talking about? And other people are like, well, obviously you just turn east. How do I know where? Am I looking for the moss on a tree? I mean, how do I know which way is east? Some people have that internally. I'm not one of them. I need directions and a map and the Google help to get me where I'm going. So as we kick off our topic about when you feel lost, I think you have some thoughts about kind of arriving at the fact that you are feeling lost. What are the components of, feeling lost? It's more than just being uncomfortable. It's a feeling of having lost your way. In the research that we'll include below, maybe there's a little bit of anxiety in there, maybe there's a little bit of fear, but feeling lost is kind of its own thing. Do you think, Jonathan?
Yes, I was actually just thinking about when I have felt lost, which I have many times. Um, there are ingredients to it. So, like, let's say, for example, if I do not have a goal or like a place to be, in those instances, I don't, I don't feel lost. There's no way for me to feel lost because I don't have to get anywhere and I don't have to be anyone. So when you don't have like a expectation or like a
Mm-hmm.
urge to become something different,
Mm-hmm.
you you're actually pretty safe. You're not going to have that experience. Now, if you're watching this because of the law of vibration, I'm assuming you are going to encounter this hopefully many, many times because otherwise you're not exploring and you're not growing. And
You're
what would be
not
the
in
point if you're
discovery. Mm-hmm.
otherwise it's just boring. So coming from somebody that has been lost physically, like in the physical world, like being like, where is the south? Like I don't have a compass right now. I need to like take a train to the south, not to the north. And I have also been lost in the non-physical world, which is I thought that I was supposed to already be in this kind of vibration, but I don't even know how to get there. Like I have no idea. So I think it's true when someone said that opportunities are often come as disguise or like a failure.
Or a
So,
problem.
or
Mhm.
problems, yeah. uh, I used to have a very hard time believing that. I thought to myself, that is crap. This guy doesn't, he has never been lost before in his life. But now the reality is that it's true. If you start paying attention to the details, um, it is actually the more you start to enjoy the experience of not knowing what's actually need to happen or has to happen because of your own imagination.
Mhm.
It usually, in my experience, it gets better. Like something like the next thing, as long as you do not give up. That's the only
Mhm.
how do you call it? Like that's the main in Spanish is
Requirement, right?
requisito. In English is like the only requisite. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is as long as you don't give up. There's no way that it does not get better because you expanded like something between like within you. It was like a seed, and it becomes like a tree.
Mhm.
So now I also understand because I had been lost not that long ago that when you first start to experience this feeling of not having control over your environment or what you actually want to achieve,
Mhm.
I do understand that it's not easy to process. Um, so if you feel lost and you do not have the inner previous experiences to back you up, meaning like if you do not have a compass already with you, it can be helpful to look for help.
Yes.
Meaning, if you're lost, do
Mhm.
not hesitate to ask, where do I get from point A to point B?
Mhm.
Or like, how do I even manage to survive the distance between those 2 points? So,
Yes.
and that's when coaching can come very, like, extremely helpful. It's a
Yes.
great resource. Um, and it's not only coaching. There's so many kinds of help that you can get. But the main thing, in my experience, it will be understanding that if you feel lost, you're growing and you're actually having a deeper experience of life. Because if you do not feel lost ever,
Mhm.
it tells me that you're the kind of human that plays it safe,
Yes.
and you never had to like actually like explore, grow, uh, knew something different. Because only when you get lost, it reminds you and it humbles you. Hey, this is bigger than I thought it was.
Yes. Yes. Well, you and I are the kind of people over time. And I think our spiritual orientation, where we want to know how we operate in this world, how does it all work? We will give ourselves opportunities to test ourselves to grow. Like we value growth. We want more understanding. But for other people, sometimes if things are copacetic and things are rolling right along, they don't want to disrupt that. Don't rock the boat, right? But then life will rock it for you. Yeah, life will say enough of this. You're going to be moving in another direction and you're not doing that on your own, so we're going to do it for you. So I also have worked with clients, they look at the immediate circumstances. I've been laid off, or I've lost my job, or we weren't expecting this baby and we're not sure we can afford it. And now things are changing. This was unplanned. Whatever it is that's impacting you and making major changes that you're going to have to respond to, um, asking for some help to take the 30,000-foot view of, well, let's look at what your options actually are. And as you say, most people have some kind of experience where they've had an undesired outcome and have had to navigate that, have had to pivot or change. I thought I was going to get into medical school, but I didn't. I always wanted to go to college, but I started my family early and I didn't. So this is what I did instead. If you look back someone's timelines, everyone has had a little rain in their life. It hasn't been sunny every day. And how did they navigate that change? They probably asked for help. Does anybody have a map? I'm kind of lost. They've reached out to someone they know who's been through what they're going through right now, and say, how did you do it? How did you prepare yourself? I think there's also, and I'm going to post this in the show notes, a time where you can't quite put your finger on what's not right. On paper, if you're talking with a friend, well, you have a good job and you're good at it. You're making more money than you need. Your relationship is fine. The kids are fine. You went on a vacation you enjoyed. What have you got to complain about? Like, what's going on? And in those circumstances, just kind of doing an assessment. And we have a 7-point assessment when you're looking for coaching. It's free. You're not required to hire us, but it is a helpful first step if you're trying to figure out something's not quite right anymore and I can't put my finger on it. On paper, things are fine. And in this assessment, we look at all the areas of your life. Sometimes it's you don't have a faith life, that you've kind of neglected the spiritual part of your life. Sometimes that's not it. Sometimes you've been, rolling along because it's easy and you're not feeling challenged, and you need to be reminded you need a challenge sometimes. And so if life is not providing challenges for you and you've kind of lost the juice, provide one for yourself. Take up golf, learn to paint, go to a foreign country where you don't speak the language and can't read the signs, and immerse yourself, for a couple of weeks and shift gears a little bit. Coaching can help you with that too. So if you feel like you're not quite sure why things aren't quite great, do this assessment and it'll let you rate the different parts of your life, and the parts that seem to be not working the most might be where you start to kind of get things sorted. So do you sometimes have people, Jonathan, that say, this is not working, but I don't know why? It was working and now it's not. relationships or family dynamics?
Yes, and multiple times. And it's a great point because usually that is the most common and the most popular, and I have been guilty of it. But usually the reason why is that we have such a expectation is so like on point that let's say you go to church on Sunday, you have your wife, you have the kids,
Mhm.
there is a dog, there is a picket fence, there is vacations, there is medical coverage, you have everything, and
Mhm.
yet something is not allowing you to fall asleep at night because you can't just relax in the sense of like you know that you're supposed to be doing something different and you have no idea what it is because everything on paper is the dream or even better. So
You have your desired outcomes. You work
yes,
for them, you made a plan, you have your desired outcomes, and you're not sleeping. You do a lot of work with clients to help them sleep. That's an early indicator.
and
That
the vacation is not only on on coach, the vacation is on first class, so what do you have to complain about?
yes, and
Now it's easy to judge and be like you cannot complain, but the reality is that for everybody the experience is different. So let's say in these scenarios, they have this particular client has everything on paper that anybody else without the material stuff can dream of. But
Mhm.
for this particular human, in his experience or her experience, so they, you know how I usually it's communicated to me. It's like something is missing, and I don't know what it is. Now, the something is missing. It usually comes in those scenarios when we have like a very low tolerance for um, change or like for modifications to or what we believe is the perfect plan
Mhm.
because I've seen that happen with humans that are very like the more efficient somebody is, the more or the less tolerance they have to like the line that is going to be between like changes in their lives, it's very limited, and they are extremely like wealthy and everything, but the line that they have to play with is a very like the dimension that they have to be flexible is not really once you talk to them, it's like zero tolerance
You
to
get locked
changes.
in. You
Yes,
get locked into a narrow band of activity and you meet those requirements, but you can't really jump the line. You're not going to be skydiving next weekend or in a hot
y-
air balloon. You know,
yes,
you're
or your life is going perfectly fine, you are a wonderful CEO or whatever, and then next thing you know, your kid is not a Christian, and it decides that all of a sudden wants to be Jewish or a Buddhist,
mhm,
and that brings like
mhm.
chaos, like it's like you know, the whole family gets involved, and it's just like a switch that it has nothing to do even with themselves. So
Mhm.
the more somebody is attached to the way things supposed to be working, that's when I've seen that the harder the time they have to actually adapt to the reality as it is, and that's when they're like, I don't know, I have everything but this thing keeps bothering me and I don't know how to. Okay, that's fine, and that's when we can take them to a process of let's explore in the first place why are you so attached to this way of thinking, like
Mhm.
first of all, where do you even learn that from? Your grandpa?
Who
Like
decided who decided this is how your life needed to go? Or how old were you when you decided you needed to be a lawyer? How old were you when you decided? And how old are you now? So 10 years have gone by. Is it time for a new decision? Could it be time? Did you make a decision at 25 that you now have to stick to until you're dead or 70? You could make a new decision. And I think that sort of ephemeral, I can't sleep, I don't know what's bothering me. It's like having a burr under your saddle and you just can't quite settle down and you just don't know why that's happening. There's a famous book, I don't know that you've read it. It's from 20 years ago, I think, called Eat, Pray, Love. It's written by Elizabeth Gilbert. and it was very popular at the time. And she told her autobiographical personal story that she came from a wealthy family. Her life was pretty pre-programmed. She has her perfect job. She's a writer. She's in New York City. She's leading kind of a glamorous life with, popular friends who go see the shows and go to the fancy restaurants. She's engaged to a man she loves. She goes home to the fancy apartment in New York, and as he falls asleep, she goes in the bathroom every night and cries. She can't sleep. She doesn't know where the anxiety is coming from, but she cries. And she finally hears God tell her. She hears a voice audibly in the story she wrote that says, "You have to make the change. This is not the life that I chose for you or that you chose for you. This is not it." And it was pre-programmed. This is the perfect life. I have the outcome everybody wants. How can I no longer subscribe to this perfect life? I have the perfect life. They're planning a wedding. Both families going to be disappointed. She's going to lose her friends because she's living a life now that doesn't make sense if she walks away from her fiance. She's going to break his heart. How can she be the kind of person that would break this nice man's heart? And she might lose her perfect job. And she talks it over with her editor, and she says, "I think I need to send you to a foreign country to write an in-depth article about something. Like, you need a geographical change to think differently. Come out of New York, meeting with all your friends, that limited band that you talk about, that sort of narrow band of activity, and open up your mind." So she goes to Italy, she goes to India, and she realizes, "I can't live that life." She breaks up with the fiance, like over Zoom or Skype or something. And but she got to that turning point that made no sense. Her outcomes were being achieved and it didn't work. So we can find people that are lost because they're not managing to achieve their desired outcomes. We can find people that are lost because they are achieving their desired outcomes. This is the pre-programmed happy ever after you thought you wanted, and now that it's upon you, not so much. Maybe it's not what you want.
Yeah, no, that's right. Also, to that point, I've noticed that before someone feels like extremely, like totally devastated and lost, like the worst level,
Mhm.
there are subtle signs before you get to that point. If you actually just are truthful to yourself, which for this you don't even need a coach. Like if you are actually truthful to yourself before you go to sleep and you look in the mirror,
Mhm.
and then something tells you, hey, this isn't the right
Mhm.
thing, that's the perfect time to actually, okay, you do not know why, okay, a coach can help you.
Mhm.
um, Hypnotherapy can help you. That's way deeper. It can
Mhm.
also help you.
Mhm.
You can help somebody with, like, coaching kicks in perfectly at those times.
Mhm.
Now, that is why I'm not completely against somebody actually feeling totally, like, completely lost, because it's like after so many signals that the universe is sending you, like, hey, it's like it doesn't happen overnight. It's like a process, right? So when it does happen, like something dramatically actually does happen, and then you feel completely overwhelmed because you have no idea where you stand and where you're even at. I don't see it like a bad thing. I actually do see it as a positive thing. As long as you're still alive,
Mhm.
it's a positive experience,
Yeah.
because you were meant to grow for like long ago. You were just wasting your life experience. Like,
Mhm.
what was the point on, like, not being happy with everything you had
Yeah.
when you can potentially be, like, happy multiple times during the day? And once you achieve the point of being happy multiple times during the day, let's say once an hour, if you if you have the capacity, I'm not talking about being joyful 24
Right.
hours a
Right.
day. I'm saying,
Delirious. Yeah.
if you have the capacity to be joyful and happy once every hour, your life changes in ways that you cannot even dream of, like you cannot even imagine, and you will never be able to imagine because you're trapped in the dimension that keeps you from experiencing this other dimension. And that's when you feel lost. You have actually granted yourself access to a different dimension. That's why I'm actually grateful when somebody gets lost. I'm like, good,
Yes.
finally.
Well, they're at a point where they have to make a choice. They have to start to examine, right? And so they're finally at the threshold of the thing they've been avoiding. And now they're going to talk with someone and say, let's look at what your options are. What do you need to try? You
Yes,
know, and it could look on paper like your life is a disaster. It could look on paper like your life is perfect. Most of us live somewhere in between. But still, if you have this come upon you, it's time to pay attention and explore why. So I think giving yourself permission to find out why. Why am I feeling this? Why can't I sleep at night? Why am I no longer satisfied but what used to satisfy me? Like, start to explore, what it is, find out your whys. Take this free assessment that we put down here, talk with a coach. You can reach out to us, but there's a gift in the dissatisfaction. There's a gift if you're willing to face, okay, something's not right here, and I probably have to pay attention to it. And then start to explore. Some things in your life, it'll feel like you're pulling the first thread on the sweater, and then everything unravels. But if that's what's meant to be, pull that thread, if that's what's meant to be. And you and I can share experiences of clients who've been through this kind of thing before and our own journeys to say it's actually better on the other side of pulling that thread. It's actually better because you sleep like a baby at night. You're excited again about what life offers you. You're telling the truth to yourself and others about who you are. And that truth changed somewhere, and you're catching up to the
in,
change. If it hadn't already changed, you wouldn't be feeling this dissatisfaction.
yes, it's true. Just yes, that there's no way around it. Once you have access because you are lost,
Mhm.
you meaning you're going to, not on purpose, but you're going to step because you took what you thought it was the wrong step because you're lost. You're going to step into a different dimension.
Mhm.
Once you have a taste of that dimension, you're gonna be like, oops, I farted and I smiled. Oh my god, I haven't done that in 10 years. Wow. Wow, that is called a different dimension of life, and that is what it's all about. It's so yeah, I think it's a beautiful idea.
Well, I think as coaches, we know sometimes the only way out is to go through. You can't avoid it any longer. You're going to have to come to terms with it. You're going to work your way through it. And share your final thoughts and how people get a hold of you, Jonathan, if people, say, I do need to sort of take a fresh look at what's working, what's not working. I'm not sleeping, or I'm just generally dissatisfied, and I used to be quite satisfied, and I'm not sure how to find my compass to know what the next steps are.
Yeah. So I do believe that there are ways to prevent being in a position when you are completely lost and devastated. Some of the times, like let's say if it's the death of a
Hmm.
family member or like unexpected things that are not in your control, those we cannot do anything about it. So if it happens that way, it's still not a bad thing, but I understand that it came out of nowhere,
Yeah,
and that's when help can be extremely useful. I
yeah.
have used it before. I traveled to India when
Hmm.
I needed some balance in my system.
Hmm.
That's how I ended up living in the ashram with Sadhguru.
Hmm.
But let's say before, like let's put that scenario away, and everything else that is happening, like work wise, life wise, with your family members, friends, that's a huge one also, because so many people are scared of like letting go of relationships
Yes,
that does not serve them anymore.
right.
So if it's not something unexpected, but it's something that you have been feeling like funky or like funny about it, or like something is just not right, I think it's worth paying attention, like the non-sleeping part,
Yeah.
because of something. It's obviously a call. It's a non-brainer. It is a call to be like,
Call to action for some,
yes, look
and
for help, and that's when coaching can be a great way. to have someone that has experience that guide you through it, because you know that that person has already have dealt with it and still alive, and it's still kind of like joyful, so you can be like, okay, this is the right person that can guide me. And again, there's all kinds of styles, so you don't have to choose just one person. You can just find the right one that is for you,
Mhm.
but do so before it gets completely crazy, because once it does, you it's
It's
still
harder
better
on you.
than
Yeah,
never.
it's harder on you. Do you want to put out a whole house fire or put out a kitchen
Yes, but
fire?
it's harder.
Let's see if we can control what you have to do if it's
Yes,
possible.
exactly. Once it's still under your control, it's way better, because it's still like you still have a lot of like
Mhm.
management involved. Like you are actually the one that can make the changes consciously and purposefully, instead of like the universe being like, oh, this dummy just doesn't get it. Hey,
Mhm. Well, you know, the example of Elizabeth Gilbert and Eat, Pray, Love, she made this wholesale change. She just sort of turned her back on her life and wrote a new chapter for herself, literally, figuratively. But you can make small changes. You don't have to say, okay, now that I'm paying attention to find out what's going on with me, I'm going to have to change everything. I'm going to have to lose my relationships and my family and my job. No,
yeah.
you can change two or three small things and see how it feels, and change two or three small more things and see how it feels. This is how you find your way to weave a direction for yourself. For some people, they need to make a big change. They've had enough of something. That's fine. For others, they need to take some baby steps to know, okay, I now know I'm moving in the right direction. I don't feel so lost. And I'm working with someone who can help me identify the next two steps. You know, I have more courage, more confidence to take some bigger steps. So, however you navigate your life, you can take small steps. First, give yourself permission to look at it and figure out, talk with someone about what's going on. So, how do people get a hold of you, Jonathan?
Yes, you can find me on alivedesign.org. Also, Jonathan R Coaching on Instagram and TikTok, and via Gmail, jonathanrcoaching@gmail.com.
Wonderful. And you have an amazing self-confidence course that
Coming, yes.
we're going to put a link in the description. So if what you feel like is you need a little more self-confidence, and maybe that's just the push to kind of begin taking some steps, your course is amazing for that. So yeah, I'm going to put all that information in the description. You can join a life designed for free. That membership information link will be there. I'll also include the link for how to take this assessment, and a link for a guide that says when you think you need a coach. So if you find yourself lost, you can be found. It's
I
really good.
I wish a live design existed when I was 17.
Yeah. Yeah, with the world before you and needing a few more clues about what the next right thing is. But looking back, you did the right things. Looking back, you did the right things. So wonderful to have you as a coach on board. Thank you for joining today. And we'll see everybody next time.
See you next time.